Now, with this enormous disaster in Baltimore, we're once again seeing the MAGA vision of governance in action, which is you only get government services if you support Donald Trump, and screw you if you don't. Joining me now, Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. Mr. Secretary, it's great to have you on the program. First, I wanted to get a kind of brief from you on where things stand in the aftermath of this disaster in terms of knowing what caused it and what the next few steps look like.
Thanks. Well, the NTSB is leading the investigation in partnership with the Coast Guard and a number of agencies that are involved. They're going through the black box, looking at everything that could be relevant to understanding the causes. They work independently from us by design, but we're doing everything we can to help in their effort. In the meantime, our focus really is, as a department, is making sure we prepare for what's next. That means getting that bridge rebuilt and dealing with all of the traffic disruptions until it is, getting the port reopened, and dealing with all of the supply chain disruptions until that happens. Right now, there are 3 heavy lift vessels on their way to the site that should begin arriving tomorrow, and the last of them should be in place a couple of days after that. To begin with that process of getting the wreckage cleared, you got to understand that passage that is blocked by the ship and the bridge there, that is the only channel in to most of the port of Baltimore, which is, of course, a very important port for the East Coast. So that's why we've got to make sure that we get that cleared in a safe and responsible way so that the port can get back up and running. Then there's the longer term effort of making sure the bridge can get back up. Just hours ago, we released the first $60 million of federal funding to help with that through our emergency relief program. There's, I'm sure, going to be much more where that came from. Everything it takes, as the president said, to help everyone in Baltimore get back to normal.
So clearing that ship, which is still in that channel, that's the channel that creates passage in and out of the port to get the port active again. That's sort of priority number one right now. The $60 million in quick release emergency relief funds that got announced. I guess there's a sort of pot of money for the immediate aftermath of disasters. And then in terms of the actual transportation logistics here, I mean, it strikes me as an enormous problem, right, to not have that bridge in terms of hazardous materials, in terms of flow from the port as well. Do you have a game plan for how to deal with that?
Yeah, we've been working side by side with the Maryland DOT under the leadership of Governor Wes Moore as they have been putting together their plans to do the design and the procurement for the new bridge and everything it takes to get that port back up and running. As you noted, this is an important thoroughfare, about 30,000 vehicles a day counted on that bridge. There are alternatives, 95 and 895, but those are both tunnels, which are not suitable for hazardous material transportation, at least most of the time. Part of what makes this complicated in the meantime. But these are some of the things that that the funds can help with, and certainly in terms of clearing that channel. These funds can go to demolition, debris removal. They can go to supporting some of the costs associated with detours, as well as the early spending on that design and procurement of a new bridge. And believe it or not, even though the original bridge took 5 years to construct, they have already had meetings and sessions beginning yesterday to launch the procurement and design process to get it back up.
Okay, so that was my next question. I mean, just looking at that bridge, that looks like an expensive, difficult to build bridge. I know nothing about bridges, but just my amateur eye. It's a long expanse. It also has to be built so that ships can pass in and out underneath it. This is a non-trivial undertaking. What's the timeline and the cost like? And are you worried at all from the words we heard from the Republican congressman today that this House Republican majority is not going to be interested in providing the funding?
This really needs to be a bipartisan priority, and anybody who views it as otherwise, I'm hoping they will reconsider, because it could be your district that is the next one to be struck by tragedy, and we always do better when America comes together. Let me give you one example of a situation that happened in the past. In 2007, many were killed and injured when I-35 bridge collapsed in Minnesota. That was not because of a ship strike or a truck strike. In that case, It wasn't going over the bay the way the bridge in Baltimore is. But what it had in common was a sudden and catastrophic collapse. In the end, about $260 million of federal funds were brought together, and that is something that really passed very quickly and rather easily in that Congress. I would like to believe we can get that done now, too. To be clear, things like the $60 million we put forward today, we've already got that funding because it was authorized in President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure plan that passed back in 2021. But it's certainly the case that more funding might be needed. And again, this really shouldn't be partisan in the least. Getting just like the original bipartisan infrastructure law was bipartisan. We didn't have all Republicans with us, of course, but a number of Republicans crossed the aisle to work with President Biden, work with Democrats, and get that done because there's nothing partisan about a road or a bridge.
Secretary Pete Buttigieg, thank you so much for your time tonight. Appreciate it.